Welcome to Gen Z Journey.
Today with us is Dinesh, and Dinesh is born in Malaysia in year 1997. He studied English language and literature in University of Nottingham, and he's one of the past youngest division director in Malaysia for Toastmaster International, and currently he's the HR team lead in Shell. So yes, Dinesh, did I miss out on any interesting part of your life that you would like to add on?
No, I think you got the most part cowards. I don't think I'm that interesting, so I think that's fine.
How is that so? Yeah, definitely you're an interesting person. That's why you are here. But yes, first thing first, I'm very interested in your Toastmaster history because you spend a lot of time in it, and then personally, honestly, I did not know much about Toastmaster. I just know that it's like a public speaking kind of thing and all that. Can you tell us more about how you entered it and your whole journey inside?
Yeah, sure, I can. Essentially, I got to know about Toastmasters when I was in high school because I was doing competitive public speaking. So in public speaking, you often go on YouTube to search for world championship videos and etc. So Toastmasters organizes world championship public speaking every year. So I think that is the biggest public speaking competition that can ever be. And if you are part of the Toastmasters organization, you will be part of a club, and then it forms an area, division, district, and all that jazz essentially. So I started my Toastmasters journey in the University of Nottingham. Essentially, that is also because I wanted to take a break from debating. In high school, I was a debater, but at one point, I think I got too much into debate that it was actually hindering my personal relationships. So I wanted to stop debating and try public speaking. It's two different ball games. A lot of people assume that debate and public speaking is the same. I can tell you it's not. It's really two different set of objectives, two different purpose and everything, right? So I went into the club, and then I really enjoyed the leadership side that Toastmasters then offers. So then at one point I became the club president, and then I became an area director. And like what you rightfully mentioned, in the year I think 2018, 2019, I was the youngest division director in Malaysia at that point. So what a division director means is you look after probably 20 to 25 clubs. I think my time I was looking after 20 to 25 clubs all over KL, and I had the help of five area directors who were then I was leading. And interestingly, all of them were older than me. So that was my first time trying to lead people who were older. Some of them I think were even twice my age. So yeah, it
Wow.
was a very interesting part. But just to answer you, essentially it's a club that helps people to become better communicators and better leaders.
I see. Okay. You mentioned that previously you're a debater. What got you into this path? Like what made you choose debate?
Okay, so if you want to know the very honest answer that many people don't know, right? So I would say this is like the very honest answer. When I was in high school, later part, I think I'll explain to you about the entire journey. There were a lot of like things that I went through, but I spent 70% of the time in high school, especially from 3, from 4, from 5, outside of classroom. So I was more focused in the competitions that was happening. I am very competitive, but I did not do any sports competitions. So I was competing in all the brain competitions. So I took part in public speaking, choral speaking, debate, and etc. And I can guarantee you, so in some of the competitions, I was not part of the team because I was the best. I was part of the team because those people who were better than me, their parents never allowed them to take part in any of these competitions. So these are people, most of the times, they come from, their parents must be like really well educated, doctors, lawyers, and etc. And they're like, no, you can't take part in anything else, you need to study. Well, for me, my parents barely knew what was happening in school, so they did not have much context. So I took part in that. And then I tried English debating, then I went on to do BM debate. I loved BM. The Malay language was one of my favorite subjects. And essentially, then I became a good debater. I was debating, I took part in a few championships. But at one point, I think I got too much into it because when you do competitive debating, you kind of spend a lot of your time debating. And at one point, I think it really affected my relationship with people. At one point, you can tell me the sky is blue, and I would love to disagree with you. It was to that extent. So then I decided, I love toxicity. I love toxicity, but in this case, I don't want to become a super toxic person. So took a break and then went into other things. And still, until today, I still think debating and all the competitions that I took part in high school were primarily what shaped me to be who I am today, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Interesting. Okay. You say you really love BM, but you chose English language and literature for university. Why?
Right. So there's two parts to this, right? Number one, me loving BM. Why I love BM, I think it's because my personality, I love structure. So I'm
Ooh.
someone who loves structure in the things that I do. Routine excites me sometimes, but not too much of a routine. So my MBTI is ENTJ. If you're familiar with MBTI, then my E, T, and J are extreme. So I'm a very extroverted person, very, very extreme. And my J is also very extreme. So what does J do? J loves to plan, organize, they plan ahead. So that's why I love planning, I love structure and etc. So I thought BM was a language that was filled with structure, right? There was this so many rules about grammar, when you can use this, when you cannot use that, and a lot of these rules and regulations. In BM we used to call it Tata Bahasa Dewan, Kamu Tata Bahasa Dewan and all that. So I think that's what drew me towards BM. That's why I really enjoyed. To the extent I'm not even joking. When I was studying for SPM, I told myself, because I think it was very clear in the entire school population, probably less than 10 people will get A plus for BM. And among the 10 subjects I took, I did not care much about whatever other subject. I just told myself that if I don't get an A plus in BM, I'm disappointed like everybody. Like that was it. And in the end, I got an A plus lah. So when I got my results, the first thing I saw was BM A plus. Okay, because I think in the school that time only 5 of us got A plus. So I was really like making sure that I will be one of them. So yeah, that was that. But to answer why I did English language and literature, so this goes back to my family background. So just to give you a little bit of context, I don't think I've written this on LinkedIn, so you probably would not know as well.
Interesting.
So I
Very nice.
came, yeah, you would. I don't think many, unless you've heard my TEDx speech, with which I briefly would have spoke about this. So I came from a family where both my parents did not make it to high school, so they were not that educated essentially. So my dad was a blue collar worker, and my mom, for the first half, for the big part of her life, she was working in Malaysian Airlines in the admin side, and then she took early retirement scheme. So my dad was a blue collar worker. They both did not make it to high school. I think they only completed primary school. So growing up, I did not speak English. And I grew up with my grandparents. I love my grandparents, but I spoke to them in Tamil, right? Because they also don't know English that well. My grandfather, interestingly, can speak somewhat of a broken English so confidently, and that's because he was a driver. So he was working in Malaysian Airlines, and his job at that point was, I don't think they have this role now, but he used to drive a van that picks up a lot of these captains, pilots, and air steward and stewardess. So he picked up English merely by conversing with them. He speaks with like atrocious English, but he speaks it so confidently. I don't know how. So that's how he then picked it up, right? So in high school, in primary school, I was a very quiet person, and I did not have many friends, which a lot of people find it hard to believe. It's because I cannot communicate in English. I don't speak English. And I think there were many times I lost a lot of opportunities because I could not speak English and because I couldn't mingle with people. To the extent, one of my high school teachers actually told my dad that I have the potential to become a criminal because I just can't speak.
What?
You know, I just can't. Yeah, now that I think about it, I really think
It's terrible.
it's a very terrible thing to say. But honestly, I think that was not the most terrible thing that probably happened to me in high school. But in sorry, primary
Interesting.
school. Yeah, so then I think there were a lot of occasions where I was with my parents, and we can't speak English. We were often looked down, and I don't. So I think it was really that passion that I really wanted to master the language. Which, if you ask me, in hindsight, it's quite a ridiculous thing to do, lah. I can't believe that I made a life decision at that point. So I actually then, when I went into Form 4, I even took up English literature as the elective paper in SPM because I really thought I liked the language and I really wanted to do something along that lines. And also, so essentially that's what started. That's how why I wanted to do English literature. And I thought I liked literature and things like. But when I went into university, it was 180 degree turn. Things just changed in a very strong manner. But yeah, I think growing up, and because I was an introverted person, I loved writing, even though my grammar was crap. At one point I was part of the young journalism program at Star, the
Wow.
Star Education, the Star newspaper. It used to be called as Stuff at School. I don't think it's there anymore. So I used to write for them and everything. So I really thought growing up my life dream was to become a writer or journalist. So before that my ambition was to become a priest, and then I realized they're not gonna. I would not be earning much money. So they helped me. So then I decided, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll become a writer. I'll become a journalist because as hard as it may be to believe, I used to be a very shy person. So I did not see myself, being someone who's going to be in front. I always thought I'm going to be someone at the back, and journalism was something that I thought I would enjoy. Then I took up an internship, decided that's not what I want to do. So that's how I did English language and literature at University of Nottingham.
I see. Okay. At what point in your life that you changed from introvert to extrovert?
Okay, so here comes another, I would say one of like my turning points in life, right? So remember I told you in primary school, literally no one saw hope in me. And I remember when I was in the first class when I was in standard six, and I got straight A's for UPSR, which was a shock to many people.
Amazing.
Because a lot of people thought, this guy is probably going to fail in life, which was actually something what people told me. I'm not even joking. I think someone even told
terrible,
me.
man.
Yeah,
why do people just say this back then?
I don't know. I seriously, no, now that I think about it, I find that funny. But like people were just being people, essentially. So what I realized is when I was in standard six at that point, then when you go into your secondary school, you get you get to go to a school, right? They placed me in a school. They can say whatever they want to say, but the school that I was placed in was known for notorious gangsterism. Like that was essentially the place that I was put at, because I don't know why, right? So I was put there. Obviously my parents were freaking out because I'm the only child, and why and everything. So a lot of things were happening. So my grandfather, like I told you, he can speak somewhat. So it's my late grandfather. He passed away last year, but he had a lot of confidence in life. So we actually, at the age of 12, I had to go to the Ministry of Education. It used to be called PPD, right? So Klang. I was from Klang. So I had to go to PPD and I had to appeal to place me in a better school. And I remember walking into that room, and my grandfather had to do all the talking because, like I said, I cannot talk that much, right? But I don't know if you're able to visualize this, but I think that was one of the few moments in my life that I felt so helpless. Because imagine like you're trying to fight or you're trying to get something, but you are not fighting for anything. You're literally getting, in this case, it was my grandfather doing all the talking to get that, right? And I remember coming back home that day and I told myself, never in a million years I want that to repeat to me again. Like I never want to be in a situation where I can't fight or I can't express my view and I need someone else to do it. So when I went into high school, it was a complete new year, new me, new school, right? Because nobody there probably, okay, the school was filled with like 40% people from my primary school, but they don't know Dinesh, like what the primary school Dinesh was about. So it was like an opportunity to revamp myself. So I continuously then put myself up for a lot of things. I took part in choral speaking, got trashed by people. Oh, that's a horror story by itself. And essentially then that's when I wanted to put myself out there. And I think that then helped me in a lot of things. So I don't have an exact moment when I became an extroverted person, but I think these little things then helped me to always then want to really express my views, fight for whatever I want, be enthusiastic. So that shaped my high school life, and then went into university, learned about leadership, and started doing more things.
I see. Very interesting. Actually, even myself, I mean, right now I wouldn't say I'm an extrovert. I was just very early in the early years. I think primary school, very shy, very quiet. Even in high school, I'm quite shy, quite quiet as well. But there's always these moments like what you said, like new year, new me, new place, good time to change. I wanted to change, but then for me, it's like multiple times I want to change, then get hit by reality, then you hide back into a box. Why did that not happen to you? What was the thing that made you, okay, I still want to change and all that?
I think it's because I'm a Taurus. I'm stubborn. I'm very resilient in that sense. Like, I am very stubborn. So I'm the type of person, I'm very intrinsically motivated as well. So until and unless I say I cannot do it, I will not stand down. So that's what, and I think that has been a big philosophy that I have in life. So like, if you know, one of my dream, or what I always say is I always say I'm an aspiring CHRO, because I see myself wanting to become that, and I don't see why I can't, right? Like, if I put the effort, I should be able to grow into that. And until and unless I am proven otherwise, I think that's a goal that I have. So I think, coming back to your question, it's because until and unless I fail, which I have failed in several occasions, which is fine, right? But I think when it came to being extroverted or being just really trying to find avenues for you to be heard, I just kept going. I might fail, I'll try again. I tried for so many things, then I kept going for it.
Interesting. Okay. Why CHRO? Why not CEO?
So, like I said, I'm a very ambitious person, but I'm also realistic. So at this point in my life, I really think I can grow my career in HR. So and just to give you a little bit of exciting story, right? CHROs can be CEOs as well. We have had a few CHROs who have done that. So Lina Nair is one of them. So I used to work for Unilever. I looked up to Lina Nair like crazily. Lina Nair is like really someone who's so charismatic. And I still remember the day the news came out that Lina Nair is now appointed as the CEO of Chanel. I felt I felt so proud, even though she has no clue who I am. I felt like that was a big win to the HR community because a lot of people think that HR is all about hiring and firing. What do you know about business? And landscape has changed. Yeah, I've come across HR folks who can analyze P&L and describe to you better than some finance folks. I'm not even kidding. I've
Amazing.
actually seen that happen. So I think at this point, if I want to grow into a CEO, I think there are other competencies that I will want to work on, which I have not decided on. But CHRO is something that I think I can aim and I can grow into it. But maybe next year, 2-3 years, I can change. But one thing that I have always been very certain is I don't see myself doing anything that is very entrepreneurial. I have never had that dream of setting up my own company, my own business. I've always been very corporate driven, like corporate slave in that sense, right? I call it slay, if like SLAY. So yeah,
Okay, cool.
I don't see myself going there, but things might change. And like I said, CHROs can be CEOs, which is exactly what Lina Nair said during her farewell. I remember in the virtual
Really?
call. So she clearly said this. She said, never let anyone tell you CHROs can't be CEOs. They can. And she did it,
And
right?
then
So I think there are many other success stories as well.
probably she already got the job offer already. That's why she's telling that.
Yeah, probably. But I feel like 2-3 years
But
ago, like maybe 5-10 years ago, I don't know if people will see that coming.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. But yes, why did you get into HR? Because you studied language, and then from what I know, I think you after you went out of university, you're pretty much on the HR path, unless I was wrong.
Yeah. So I took up English language and literature for what I described. Right. It's really a passion thing. I wanted to do English. When I went into university, I think I realized that what I really enjoyed doing outside of the classroom was two things. Number one, leading. I've always been a natural leader, and I don't say this. People have always said that to me as well. And so funnily, 9 out of 10 times in any team building activities, whenever they are like appoint a leader, it's automatically Dinesh. And sometimes I hate it because this also happens. When we play Mafia, it's like who gets to be killed first? Dinesh. It's either he talks a lot or he doesn't talk. Let's get him out of the game. So that right. So I loved leading. I loved getting people together to accomplish something. And also, second thing, in leadership, one thing is I was always success driven, right? I want whatever I do to be successful. But what I really had a lot of fun is in developing people, in always finding avenues to make sure that someone is able to become better. And I always had this philosophy that in any events, in any organizations, people are your backbone. So if you take care of your people, then your people will take care of the business. If you're able to get your people, groom your people to do their best, and then that will happen, right? So when I went into university, I did a lot of leadership, and I think I really started realizing I liked that leadership side. And every time when I'm on a project, I'm always come from a people element. I always look at like, okay, why can't this person probably do something else? Like, how can we enable this person to do something else? So then it was quite natural. HR was something that I wanted to explore, and then later on, I managed to get in, and I just continued to do that.
Interesting. Okay, you talk about developing people. Is there any moment in your life when you're developing the person and then it failed? Basically, more like the person didn't become what you expected.
I think I've had more failures than success in this arena, and that's merely because I think when you're young, when I was younger, especially sometimes when you are too focused on your goals, you do overlook a few things, right? So I'll give you an example. In one of the events that I was leading at university, after the event was a success. I think we hit all our deliverables. I even got an award for leading that event. In the eyes of everyone, it was perfect, right? Because we hit our deliverables. I got everything done, and I was very happy. But then there came what we call as a 360 feedback. And one of the components of the feedback was how often does Dinesh recognize someone? Or how often do you reward someone or recognize something? And I think that survey was filled up by at least 20 people, and the average was zero. Literally, my score was zero. And I was not surprised. Because saying thank you was so hard. I don't know why. Like, I've always been focused on, if I today I tell you, Andrew, get me 10 people to get me 10 people to sign up. I mean, get 10 people to do this. Then you do the 10 people. In the past, I'll be like, yeah, that's your job, right? You did your job. Congratulations. Move on. Let's see what other things we can do. But then I realized one part of leadership is also the ability to recognize people and the ability to reward. It doesn't have to be monetary. So ever since then, I became very famous for always writing thank you cards, and I do it until today. If you are someone who was involved with me in any projects, I'll always write you a thank you card. I'll always use words wherever I can because it's free, and that is one part of it. That's why I said I've had more failures than success in that arena.
Interesting. Okay, that's a very interesting story, and thank you for sharing that. Interesting. But yes, just now you mentioned that you are someone that you call yourself corporate slave. Very nice term to it. Why do you enjoy being in corporate? Because I think it's a very interesting perspective. Because I think I'm not sure. Okay, personally, I'm more entrepreneurial, and then maybe because of this, the content that I see is more like, oh no, try to get out of the corporate ladder. Try to be free of that and all that. So I'm very interested in your perspective.
I think two things. Number one, again, I love structure. So corporate is very structured in that sense, right? You have a career progression. For example, if you're an executive today, you look forward to being a senior executive, then you look forward to becoming an assistant manager, senior manager. So that is structure, essentially. So I think that's number one. It could be because I've always loved structure, and corporate to me is very structured. So that's that. Number two, why I don't see myself doing anything else is, so this is like a hypothesis that I have, which is two. Essentially, I don't think I am very much profit driven. Like, if for me, I mean, I love money. I need money, so thank you very much. Like, I need money to survive. But I think for me, whenever I look at impact, or what's more important for me is not really the money, but influence, like power, ability to change things, ability to impact the lives of others, which I think the corporate life gives you a big opportunity to do that. And the second part, I also think I'm not that much of a risk adverse person. So I try not to take super risky moves, which I think in entrepreneurial it may not work best because at times you need to take risk, right? But I think the chances of that happening in the corporate is slightly lower. So I think that's why I see myself in the corporate. I have had a lot of people who have come to me and be like, do you want to pair up and do this business? And my answer is default no. I will never take anything like that because it's just not where my interest is.
I see. Interesting. Sounds like, yeah, you have a pretty huge network. Can you share with us how do you build your network?
So being extroverted helps, and I think I tell this to a lot of people, especially the university students that I mentor because I'm part of a few mentorship circles. I always say, this is my opinion, I don't think it's validated, or I don't think this is written anywhere. But I always say that, like it or not, the world favors extroverts to a certain extent, right? And that's something that I believe in. I've seen this many times, and I think that's what I believe in. So that's the first thing, right? So I genuinely love making friends. I genuinely love making connections because you don't know when that connection is going to be helpful. And I think my friends, so that's why I could never brain when someone says like, you can't make friends in adulthood. I'm like, what am I not seeing? Like I can go to the gym for like a week and I make like 3 friends, and then they can become my lifelong friends essentially. So at university, one of my very close friends, Amber. So she is an extrovert. She's a very introverted person, and numerous times she has reminded me that Dinesh, you are that extroverted friend that every introverted friend adopt.
The
Get
meme,
adopted
right?
into. Yeah, and I think I've done that many times. But I think I'm not going to give you answers like, your network is your net worth, you need to mingle. I think there are many philosophies out there. But to me, I feel like you only live once, and everyone that life gives you an option to cross paths with probably have a reason why you're crossing paths with them, and you don't know when they're going to be helpful. So that really helps. So I think I genuinely love making friends in that sense.
Interesting. You said that, yeah, you cannot understand people when they say, uh, why, like making friends as an adult is hard. Can you share how you make friends? Because even personally myself, I think it would be very helpful for me. I just moved down to London from Nottingham, UK, and I've just been here for a week, so definitely would love to get some tips from you.
So I'll tell you what I've tried and what I have not tried, but I'm looking forward to try. So
Lovely.
I'll tell you what I've tried, right? So what I've tried or how I've tried making friends. Obviously, whenever I travel, I always, travel. I make friends by seeing who's traveling, and then you make sure you're safe and etc. So when I travel, I've made friends. I have had the opportunity to go for many events or many conferences where I also made a lot of friends. So in university, I took part in this competition called Asian English Olympics, which is arguably the biggest public speaking competition in Asia. So when I went for that, I made friends from China, I made friends from Bangladesh, and etc. So funnily, the friend that I made from Bangladesh, we spoke maybe what for three, we probably exchanged like three statements throughout the whole competition. But I kept in touch with him, and then later on we became really really good friends, and now he's actually in Sweden. So 2 years ago when I did a solo Europe trip, I actually crashed at his place for a few days, and I think I feel even though he's physically the distance is big, I think it feels like he's actually closer to me than a lot of people who are within my vicinity. And I think I'm quite better at maintaining so I'm quite good in maintaining two type of friendships. A, low maintenance friendships. I love that. I love when friends are low maintenance. And B, for some reason, I'm really good in maintaining friendships when it's long distance. So, I
Interesting.
have friends in Denmark, London. I think the other day I counted, I have like friends in 11 countries. And sometimes I am quite close to them than people who are here. I think it's just that. So I've tried that. So I've tried when I go for events or things, I make friends. I started fitness last year, picked up fitness, and then I went to a few fitness studios in KL, made super amazing friends that now this like every week I look forward to see them, and then we kind of become like a close knit friends and etc. So fitness also helped in that sense to make friends. I've tried online as well. Bumble has the whole Bumble Friends thing, right? But didn't work out for me that well. I also think it's because I didn't have the patience to do much. But I did not do that. I think that is also an opportunity for people to make friends, but I didn't. Mainly because I think a lot of people who are there are expats and they're looking for like expat groups, so that doesn't really help lah. Online as well, I think at one point in Facebook, I had 5,000 friends, and a lot of people always debate and argue. And I can tell you that out of the 5,000 friends, at least 4,000 people, 4,900 people, I can tell you how I know them. So this is what I always flexed with my other friends. I really could. I'm not even kidding.
Serious.
But yeah, I could lah. So whenever I take part in things, I always find avenues to make friends. What I have not done, and I really want to do, hopefully this year or next year, is I've never gone to a networking event to make friends. Surprisingly, I've never done that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
My friend always says it's because you have enough friends, so don't bother. But I have not done that, and I've had a few times I've seen something like that. I think there's this app now for it. Is it called Table App or something like that? That I keep getting notifications on Instagram about. Every Wednesday some strangers in your city meet. So I thought I wanted to go for
Interesting.
that someday. But I always also hear horror stories lah. Like you go and then you meet creepy people. So I have no energy or time for creepy people. So I have not done that. But I really think someday I want to do that. Like go for a networking event, because people either go to that to find friends or find life partners. I'm not in a stage where I'm looking for a life partner. So maybe if I'm gonna go and make friends, I probably will someday.
I see, I see. Very interesting. How do you maintain all your friendships? Like, especially you said that, yeah, for you it's easier to maintain like long distance relationship and all this. How do you do that?
So I don't know if this is something that a lot of people will agree, or some people may find it offensive. Actually, I think I got into an argument with somebody on this before as well. I
Interesting.
think friendships can and sometimes should be transactional. So what I mean by transactional is that if let's say today you and me, we know each other, right? We are acquaintances, but we're not friends. But maybe 6 months down the road, let's say you come across a situation that you need a HR opinion, and then you reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you, right? I have no issues. And let's say one day, let's say now you said you're based in London, and let's say I'm visiting London, then I'll just message you and be like, hey, do you want to meet up and etc. I don't have an issue with that, right? So some people get so tensed up, or some people get so annoyed and they're like, no, you're using them. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna wake up every day and send you good morning messages. I'm not gonna do that because we all have our own lives. And I am really, really, really grateful that a lot of my friends really know that. And sometimes they make jokes, like there's this standing joke of like, oh, if you want to meet Dinesh, you have to make like, you have to block his time like 6 months or sometimes 6 weeks in advance. Not 6 months, 6 weeks, sorry. So there's this that happens. But I think I've had friends who understand. I'm a hardcore planner, so you need to let me know in advance. I can't do anything last minute. So I think that's how I maintain friends, and that's why I say low maintenance friendships are the best, because sometimes I probably only meet you like 3 times a year, but it felt like we never stopped talking because we always see each other. And come on, Instagram and this social media is everywhere. So as long as I know you're alive, you're not going through any crisis, it's good. Like I will not come to you every day and be like, hi, what are you doing? Right? But I know some people have very contradicting views, lah. And like I said, I've gotten into a few arguments on this. But to me, I feel like there's nothing wrong in friendship being transactional. Because I also think it's need based, right? Like if I need something for you, I want you to know that I will come to you, and I want you to also know that you can come to me when you need something. That's how I maintain friendships. And I think each people have a certain purpose, or they play a certain role, and I think I segment people quite well in that sense.
Do you have like a CRM template of like different people? Since you're so
No.
structured.
I have an Excel sheet that sometimes if I need to categorize people, so I'll give you the story. When I was doing my 21st birthday party, for some reason I think those days. So I'm 26 now, right? This was like what 5 years ago. And my parents really wanted to do like a big kind of party because, like I said, they did not have much. I was a very low maintenance kid. Really, I was low maintenance kid in that sense. I barely gave them problems. I barely gave them financial things. I was a scholar. They had no worries to pay for anything. But I think they wanted to do something. So then we came up with this idea, and I actually had like about close to 500 people for my 21st birthday party. So it was 400 plus. So I remember
When did
pulling
you
up.
organize it? Did you have like a hall to do it?
I did. I got a hall. I almost had auditions for my friends to see who's going to perform, but I didn't have to. I had enough friends who performed. I had all those with things happening. But I think I don't have a CRM template, but I have an Excel sheet then to categorize, prioritize, and be like, okay, who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. So I always say this joke that I really hope maybe my partner is going to be someone with low friends, because the last time I tried calculating how many people I need to invite for my wedding was more than 1,000, and I was thinking, yeah, imagine if like I find a partner who's also like that, then 2,000 people, I got no money, bro, to fund that. So we'll see how that goes. But I think what I'm really good at is segmentizing, or knowing who I can count on for what, and in what scenario I need to reach out to who. Yeah.
I see. Very interesting. I feel like if your wife is a big extrovert, yeah, you do have a century wedding or like a royal wedding or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not even into that. Like it's just funny in that sense. But yeah.
Interesting. Very cool. You said that your life is very structured. People have to book you in advance, 6 weeks. So how's your lifestyle like? Is it like packed with meeting people, or like is it more packed with like doing your own things?
So I'm never ashamed to admit this. I really suck in spending time alone. Until today, I've not been able to figure that out. So that's that. Like I said, very extroverted person, right? So to visualize this, I'll give you this example. Let's say on a Saturday morning, right? I wake up and I have nothing to do. Let's say the whole day I have nothing to do. I will be 100 times more drained than if I go out. So typically on Saturday mornings, I leave home at 7 a.m. I come back home at like 2-3 a.m. and I will still be energetic. So that is the impact, right? So that is essentially how I spend time. But I don't know. So I also like to do things that I'm bad at to really just see whether I can improve or stuff. I never shy away from doing things that I'm bad at. So meditation was always something that I ran away from because for the love of my life, I cannot just sit still and not do, right? And I think sometimes some people even said like, "Are you sure you don't have ADHD?" I'm like, I don't know. I never went through a diagnosis, but maybe but my friend who does psychology told me that you're supposed to get diagnosed before the age of 18. So that ship has sailed. But essentially, I love to spend time with people. So that's why I always do things that involves people. So even when it comes to fitness, I always do it with my friends. I'm always out. And then so what I'm really bad at is like, spending time with myself. Like I just can't. But I do journaling. Okay, talking about meditation. Then 2 years ago, I told myself, you know what? There must be a reason why all these famous people are always talking about meditation, right? I was always curious, like, why? So 2 years ago, I think I signed up for a meditation course, which I procrastinated for a year. So I think I signed up for it in December 2021. I kept pushing it, and then in December 2022, I made it. I made it to the meditation camp, and then they take away your phone. You are in the forest for 3 days, 2 nights, no phone, spending time with yourself, and that felt really different. Like it felt like you're trying to find calm in chaos, and I think I really liked that. So I came back, and ever since then I've been practicing meditation, and things like that. So I do try to meditate almost every day, and I do see changes. So I think like I told you earlier, I'm an intrinsic driven person, right? So when I saw meditation led to a few things, then that's what convinced me to do it. So I do take my time to do journaling. I'm a very reflective person. I reflect a lot and things like that. But I also think it's because I'm a productivity junkie. I hate wasting time. So that's why I try to always. So my routine, if you know me, I'm always with people, back to back, packed with things. On a Saturday, Sunday, like I'm barely home. You'll never see me at home. So during the pandemic, it was really bad.
Very for you.
Yeah. I even launched, okay, I didn't launch a campaign, lah, but I told everybody around me, like, check on your extroverted friends. We are not okay during the pandemic. So I used to organize like 5 to 6 game nights per week with different groups of people.
Serious?
Get on Zoom, we talk. But I think that's how my life rolls. And someday, I really want to see if I can change that. Because I have always been envious of people who are so good just spending time with themselves. I just can't. Like, I can't do that. So so I did a solo trip around Europe in
Okay.
2022. But even then, I wasn't spending time alone because I made friends like all the time. I could easily make friends. Always, I could walk into a cafe, see an empty. This is a real story. I walked into a cafe in Paris, saw someone sitting by themselves, asked them if the seat is taken, and I made a friend. And then I actually then
Wow.
traveled with the person. So yeah, I really am just bad spending time with myself, and that's something that I really want to learn someday if I can.
I see. I see. Personal question. How do you? I don't know. When for example, that example that you said in Paris, you just talk to a person sitting in a cafe. Like, how do you initiate a conversation, or what? Like, is there no fear or something of how it went or something?
So I always believe that number one, you miss 100% of shots that you don't take, right? I forgot who
Amazing.
said it, but it's not my quote. Please don't quote me. Somebody else said it, I think. But I found out the person who told me was Shamil, who's in Sweden, the Bangladeshi person who's in Sweden. So he's the one who told me that. So I always believe that try and fail. There's nothing to lose, right? Like if they call the cops, then you tell the cops whatever that you want to tell. So that's my mentality. So yeah, I think when I go to the cafe or if I want to make friends, most of the times they're reading something. And because I'm an
Oh.
avid reader, there is a big chance I might know the book. So I'll start the conversation with that. Or sometimes I'll just ask like, where are you from? What are you doing? Do you want to spend some time? And I always also then say, I always make, if I'm connecting with someone on social media, let's say LinkedIn, which I use to expand my network, my opening line will always be, I'm not selling insurance. Just so you know, I don't sell anything. I just have a genuine curiosity. Because you know how online people are always selling something, right? So I have to convince
Yeah.
them that I'm not selling anything. So yeah, funny. I've had gone into cafe, made friend, got into a train, made friend, gym, like I said. So to me, I always feel like you have nothing to lose. So just do it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I've also met people that I don't want to meet again, and like I said, it
Oh,
happens, right? So you just move on and look for the next avenue, and then just continue to do that.
I see. Amazing. Wow, really, really great insights. But yeah, previously you said that you're a productivity junkie, and then yeah, you find a new interesting thing, and then you're intrinsically motivated to do it, and all this. Do you have any moments that you were burn out?
Not yet. I think that's the answer. I mean, long story short, not yet. But I have asked this question to a few people before. So I think, but no one has ever given me a good answer. I think when I was in the
Okay.
meditation camp, I asked this question to somebody my exact question was, you know, I am always driven by chaos. Like I love when things are chaotic because I can bring structure to chaos essentially. So I love when I'm always doing things or after things and etc. And people always say that maybe it's either because you're very young, so you've not come across any situation that's gonna cause a problem, or you're just somebody told me maybe you're just being avoidant, which I disagreed with because I don't think I'm being avoidant. Essentially, I don't think I have had burnout, but I have had moments that I know I don't wanna spend my energy with something. So it could be a person, it could be a role, it could be a project, it could be an occasion, it could be people. But I know I don't want to spend my energy there, so I wouldn't go into that bit. But I also think I have very high self-awareness. I think right now I probably sound like a very narcissistic person, which Amber, my friend, agrees most of the times. But I think because I know myself that well, I really have high self-awareness. And I always tell people that I don't have to wait for someone to tell me what I'm bad at. I already know what I'm bad at, so I can already anticipate what's going to come my way. So I've never had an episode where I burn out, but like I said, I'm very extreme in things, right? So that applies to a lot of aspects in my life. So if I feel like spending time with you drains me and I don't want to spend time with you, I'm also on the extreme of not
I see.
spending time. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't think I've ever had a burnout situation. I also think it's because I was able to mitigate that and I was able to always find joys in what I like to do.
I see. I see. Okay. You're, I believe you definitely agree with this. You're a very vocal person, and then you just now you just said that you're quite extreme. Two questions here. What's a good and bad that it brought in your life and in your career in particular?
Right. You're talking specifically of being vocal.
Vocal and extreme, I guess, both of these things.
Okay. So let me just start by saying being extreme is never good. Right? That
Okay.
I acknowledge that. I really think the best to do is people who are able to balance things. And that's what I'm also still trying to figure out, right? How do you find that balance, essentially? Because, for example, sometimes I'm just very extreme. Like, say if I'm an extreme extroverted, then I can never be any. That's why I suck really bad in spending time with myself, right? So I struggle to find that middle point, essentially. So where I think this has then probably impacted is that because of my vocality, sometimes I just love to debate. I love to debate a lot, and I find joy in fighting. So right before I moved into my current role, before this I was doing recruitment. I loved every aspect of the team. We were very dynamic. I had a really good line manager at that point, and I think I loved fighting with them a lot. But sometimes when I look back, I also think like, oh my god, are you all not sick of me? Yeah? Like imagine every day coming to work and my ex-boss always says that she has 3 kids at home, and then she's like, I cannot like Dinesh, like I have 3 kids at home, and then coming to you, and then it's like another kid here to always be fighting. I'm like, yeah, like I love fighting. I love to debate. But where I think I'm also really good at is I am perfectly fine to lose. Some people they don't like to lose, or some people don't like to admit their mistakes. I don't do that. If I make a mistake, I will admit it. I'll move on, right? If I lose, that's also fine. So I think being vocal helps you in that sense. But a pitfall that you need to avoid in being vocal is you don't want to be known as someone who can only talk. And I really, really, really try my level best to not fall into that trap. Like today, if you ask 10 people about Dinesh, I don't want all 10 people to say he can talk. Like, that's not something that I want. I will very much like to bring in my other values or other competencies that I want to be known for, essentially, right? So I think, yeah, being vocal, that helps. That's where I think in your career it helps. Where it doesn't help is that, don't talk for the sake of talking. Like, seriously, if you have nothing good to say, it's okay to be silent. Don't have to always, come off mute to say something that if you don't believe in it, and etc. So I think sometimes, I also last time, I think I fell into the trap of doing that as well. And until I read a lot, right? And then one of the things that this one, I don't think someone told me. I think this is something that I told someone, which I was then inspired by my own words. I said something like,
Wow.
It's never about how much you say, but it's always about how much of what you said moved the needle. So you can be talking for 10 minutes, but someone else who only speaks for 2 minutes probably contributed more than your 10 minutes yapping. So you're just wasting time. So I think that is something that you might want to be good at as well. So yeah, where it has personally affected me in career is at times, there was this one time where people know Dinesh for talking, and I hate it. I don't like when people do that. Yeah.
Interesting. Very nice. I really like your honesty in sharing your all your history. Okay. Are you currently in a relationship?
With myself, yes. I love myself that much.
I see.
Yeah, I always say this, I'm single by choice, for a few
Okay.
reasons. As cliche as it may sound, the whole concept of working on yourself is amazing. So I'll give you the story, right? So I think God was very fair. I've never been a fit person in my whole life. So I'm 26, 27 now. Never been fit. In school, like I told you earlier, all my competition was on brain things. Never did sports. But I think at one point I took up chess just to cross that sports element. And then people will debate to say chess is not sports, which I agree. I mean, I disagree, but whatever you want to say. So I think so where I want to talk to you about this is that I have always been a confident person, right? Like I grew, I kind of really sharpened my confidence when I was in high school. And then in university, I kept doing that. So physical appearance was never a problem to me. So I was unhealthy like mad. At one point, I was about 130 kgs. And I think that was, like I never saw a problem in that, right? Because like I was never someone who was into the physical traits. Like I never bothered until so I was part of the Young CEO Development Program of Axiata, which is essentially a 2 years development program. That was probably later part. I'll love to talk about my ULDP experience. That's what shaped me to be where I am today and gave me the confidence I can go into corporate. So, and I always do presentations. Like that was perfectly fine. And this was the time after the pandemic. I think it was slightly right after the pandemic. And during the pandemic, I think I think I was at the unhealthiest point of my life, gained some weight. And then I asked my friend Mastura to take a video of my presentation, right? And I usually don't have a problem presenting because I'm a confident speaker. So I came back, went to the hotel room, I think perfectly fine at night. Then I watched the video and I was so disturbed because the exact phrase that I told my friend that night was, I look like a potato sack, literally. Like I hated that bit. So I think that point I realized, and so that was one part of the turning point. And then the second thing is I love people who are able to maintain a fit lifestyle in the corporate world. Because everybody complains about not having enough time, which I disagree. In the 21st century, there's no such thing as not enough time. It's a really matter of prioritization and time management. So when I picked that up, so that's when I went on an entire fitness journey. Lost about close to 25 kgs now, still going strong to do many
Amazing,
things.
man.
Yeah, but you see, so I started that because I intrinsically accepted that I don't like how I look. And I also, I cannot imagine going to someone and then if they ask me, imagine when I look like a potato sack, like what I told you, right? And then someone asks me, so Dinesh, what are you good at? I can say things like, oh, I'm a very disciplined person, looking like that. Like, seriously, I don't think that screams discipline. And I also don't, and I think how you look at that point, it says a lot about you. And also, there's a big component of health, right? So I used to follow my late grandfather for his medical checkups a lot. Go if you have not gotten reality check, go into a government hospital in a very very busy peak time, and then you see people literally die in front of you, and then you realize how unhealthy they are and how so many things can be mitigated. So coming back to your question, why I'm single. In this case, I am single, but I really think it's because I'm working on myself, and I just don't think I have time to invest into somebody else at this point. And also, I always also argue, right? My dad has been wanting. He brought up the topic of marriage, I think 1 or 2 years ago, and I fought really hard. I think that I always knew my first argument with my dad will be about this, because this is something that I will put my foot down to say no, right? So I think essentially, I do think I'm still working on myself, and I don't think I can bring someone else into the equation. And also, I'm very much into reflex lah. So I have not found a opportunity, a place where I, come across a lot of reflex. For some weird reason, I've only dated. I've not only dated. I've gone up with mostly lawyers. So I think that I think the best chance of me finding a partner is probably going to the court every Friday, because that's the day they call the lawyers to the bar, right? Rather than holding a sign like toxic lawyer needed or something. But I think to answer your question, Andrew, I really, as cliche as it may sound, I still think I'm on the journey of working on myself, and I don't see the opportunity or don't see the time to bring someone else into the equation.
I see, amazing. But yeah, I really love right now what you're working on. Your fitness journey has been amazing. I'm following it on Instagram, and then I wish you all the best.
Thanks. It's gonna be a rough road, but let's hope it gets better.
It's gonna get easier, man. Definitely. I think you are going through the toughest part. After that, I think it gets better and easier.
Let's hope lah. That's what everyone says. I will tell you if I agree with that when I go through that.
Sure. Can you tell us about the youth development leadership program? Is it that you mentioned?
Correct. So, if you remember, I told you how my dream was to become a journalist, right? And that dream stayed until the end of university. I did English literature. Whenever people ask about career, it was always journalism, writing, or lecturing, teaching. So I thought I might pick up teaching or lecturing because I love to make an impact in people, and I think you can also do that via that. So lo and behold, everything changed when I took part in this thing called University Leadership Development Program, ULDP, that is organized by Axiata. And so this is one thing, Andrew, that sometimes whenever I do my reflections, right, it always scares me how one decision that you make can change your life tremendously. It can be good and bad, right? Fortunately, I've experienced a lot of the good ones, some bad ones, but I think I remember vividly doing this. This is exactly how it went. I was in my university library, and I was gonna graduate in June, July at that point. And this was like April, and I was looking for jobs, right, to apply into jobs. And obviously, there wasn't that many opportunities in teaching, whatever, but I was sending my resume for all these things. And then I came across Axiata's University Leadership Development Program. So first I applied because I thought it was a job, and then I realized it's actually not a job. It's actually a 2 weeks leadership camp. So when they say 2 weeks leadership camp, right? I was like, okay, I have nothing to do for the next few months until I get a job. 2 weeks, and I remember their headline was something like, all the cost is going to be covered by them. No cost needed. 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, 2 weeks in a hotel,
free, why not?
Free, yeah, like I have nothing to lose. So I then signed up, and my idea was, in my head, I was thinking, it's going to be 2 weeks, you wake up 9 a.m., go attend some lecture about, leadership, this is blah, 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 then you go back to sleep. That's the idea of workshop and leadership camps, right, at that age, what I was seeing. So that's what I thought. And then, oh my god, lo and behold, the moment I entered, so this one was happening in Nilai, the moment I entered the room, I could smell like competitiveness. I got scared, because if I remember correctly, I think 3,000 to 5,000 people applied, and out of that, 80 people make it. 80 to 100 people make it. I think in my year it was
And
80.
you're one of them.
I was one of them. I still don't know why. I still don't know what they saw in me. And I remember taking, at that point, I wasn't even serious about it because if I get, I get. If I don't get, I don't get, right? And so I remember taking the interview. I was watching Game of Thrones. This was like the last disappointing season of Game of Thrones, by the way. Hated the ending. But I think I remember watching Game of Thrones and then pausing it and then picking up the interview and be like, okay, answer. And then congratulations, you got in. And then I went in. So imagine, Andrew, that, like I told you, I've always been on top of the things I do, right? Academically, leadership, and everything. So imagine picking all these top people and then putting them together. It's just chaos. Like it really humbled me down so much. I made lifelong friends who changed my life, and until today, I'm best friends with them. I met amazing people that were there. So it was at the end of that program, I told myself, Dinesh, you're not as stupid as you thought you were. Because realistically, I always told myself, I don't think any corporate people will want to employ someone with an English degree. This is what's my assumption, yeah? And university people don't really, at that point, they don't give you this much exposure. I think today, you have so many success stories of people coming and sharing. I think today, if you're in university, you will have that context. But in 2018, 2019, I did not have that, you know? Like, when you want to pick your degree, the university prospectus already say career options for this degree.
Yeah.
A list, right? So I always thought that's my list. Until I went for this program, changed my life, and that's when I told myself, you know what, I think I can handle corporate. I think I am smart enough to go into corporate. And then I applied into corporate. I think I had about 10 to 11 job offers before I graduated at that point. I had a lot of job offers. But to be fair, not everything was something that I wanted. Like, I think one or two of it was just like sales job that was not interesting. But I think that program gave me friends, gave me networks, gave me so many things. So that's what they do for the University Leadership Development Program, ULDP. So they had one called the Young CEO Development Program, which is for people with less than 2 years of working experience. Oh, sorry, people who have had 2 years of working experience. So that was a 2-year camp, two-year program, and I think it had 8 boot camps where you go spend some time. You go 3 days, 4 days, 3 nights, 3 days, 2 nights over the weekend, learning things and etc. So I then signed up for that, and then we were quite victorious in a lot of things. At the very end, the mother of all challenges, they call it is what was called as the regional business challenge. So our year, like my year, which was I think last year, we were tasked to come up with an ESG strategy for a telco company based in Indonesia, and and you had to travel to Indonesia. Everything.
So
was
it's
covered
actually a
differently.
real case study and all that.
It is real.
Okay.
And you work on real case study throughout the whole program. It's always real
see.
stuff, real things. So then that was the final challenge. And that point, I was leading the regional business challenge. I was leading my team. My team is called Team Uno. I love each of them. One of them got married today, by the way. I just came back from his wedding.
Serious?
Yeah. I just came from his wedding. So at that point, long story short, we won RBC, the regional business challenge that I was participating. And I think it was at the program. In the end of the day, they pick the top performers who have been performing for the past 2 years. So in my year, they picked the top 5 performers, and then they give an award called the most promising CEO among the participants. And for my cohort, I won that award last year. So I was given the award of most promising young CEO, which felt surreal. And I think that was a testament to that journey that I had, because 2019 Dinesh will never have dreamt that I will be able to do that. 2019 Dinesh was all about journalism, writing, low-key life, But I think that was that program, and until today I feel so much of pride being part of the program. So I feel like I owe them a lot for giving me that impact. And the person who used to lead the program was Rohaiza. And I remember she's no longer with Axiata, but I remember feeling so much of gratitude I felt so much of gratitude for picking me. I don't know why you picked me in ULDP when 3,000 or 5,000 people applied and I got in, and I just thought that was one of the few moments when people saw, like I told you, I know myself a lot, right? So I don't need you to come and tell me something that I already knew. But there were two occasions in my life where I felt people around me had more faith and confidence in me than myself, and that rarely happens. And I think that was one of it, and that changed my life. So then later on, if you're part of this program and then you graduate, we have an alumni network. So it's called Emerging Leaders Asia. So I also then became the president of Emerging Leaders Asia for 2 years. So I did that. So Emerging Leaders Asia, you just then want to benefit the alumni members by doing a lot of programs and etc. So I was then part of that. But the people that I've met, so my team in ULDP was called Tumpakante. I love them a lot. We've been planning to meet, I think, for about a year now, and we have not met up. That's how chaotic we are.
In fact, that's like the adult life, no?
Correct, yeah. But I've been telling these buggers, like, guys, we need to meet, and no, it's just been procrastinating in that sense. But I also always bring up this story of this person called Chloe, where in ULDP, they have this role called co-leads. So what co-leads do is they come to they will be observing you. So imagine you have a leadership, you have a problem, so you're working on a problem, right? And it's a 2 weeks camp. Mine was in Nilai. So you get assigned to someone who already did the program in the past. So yeah, an alumni coming back in. So my time I had Chloe, and I think she gave me a lot of reality checks. And I remember among a lot of the deep talks that we had, one of the things that she told me straight to my face is that, do you want, like, one day when you die and then people come to your funeral and people are not gonna remember Dinesh being that overachiever, Dinesh being that best in whatever and etc. People will remember how you made them feel, and I think that really changed the way how I looked at it. And I think that's when my another awakening moment was about how I then wanted to sharpen my leadership competencies and what type of leader do I want to be. Because I was always known as someone who can do things, right? Because whatever you task me, I'll get it done. I think that was consistent in many occasions of my life. So then she really gave me that view. And until today, we are really good friends. We go running every Thursday together now, and I meet her a lot. And that's what started that fire in me. So I'm always a big fan of paying it forward. And if you look at my LinkedIn, I always consider myself a youth advocate as well, because I always feel like there's a lot of things that we can help the youth community with. And I want to be someone to the youth community that I wish I once had. So I think, like what Chloe did to me, right? She really helped me out in that sense, and she saw something in me that I probably didn't see. So that's what changed my life, and I think that's how my leadership journey then took a few turns.
Amazing. Wow. Really, really amazing, man. I don't know, like, I feel I missed out so much of all these amazing events, like, in Malaysia. And then
Yeah.
I should really now starting to search, like, what do they have, like, something similar in London. Because, like, very funny actually. I think no, a few months ago, yeah, I think I'm very much into entrepreneurship, and then I'm not sure if you have heard of something called entrepreneurship incubators.
Yes, I have.
Startup incubators. Yeah. So basically, initially I wanted to get a job in one of them. And then I saw graduate, and then I just went and applied. And then turned out that was the application to the incubator program, not for the career. Yeah. But in the end, like, the person actually came to me and then asked me some question, if I'm interested to join the incubator and all that. Because that time I was really, really interested in the career more than joining the incubator program. So definitely I still wanted, I don't want to waste the time. So I was like, answer a question and everything, and then telling her about my entrepreneurship journey. But in the end, I turned it around because I'm really interested in the job that she's working in. I started asking her questions and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I didn't choose to join the incubator. The career got into final interview. Unfortunately, didn't get it, but probably something that I might join in the next cohort if I still can't find the job that I want. Yeah.
So that's what sometimes when I look back, right? Had I not been in that library when I saw that advertisement, it was an Instagram ad. Had I not click apply, I have no clue how my life would have ended up as. It will not be how it is today. I can definitely say that, because when I went into, because I used to think I'm quite good, right? Because I've always been good. And then I went into this program and I was humbled down. Like, oh my God, like, Dinesh, you think you're good. Being good is not good enough. You look at everybody else. And that's when I realized, like, there's so much of big things. And that's why I really believe today, and I always tell this to people as well, if you are the best in your circle or if you're the best in the room, for the love of God, find another room. Find another circle. I never want to be part of, I never want to, whenever I do my reflections every month, I always ask myself that question. Like, did I spend time with someone that I feel is better than me? And I want that to be a yes all the time. Because if you are always, if you're content in being the best, I think you're selling yourself short. I think you're not going to be able to see many things.
How do you do that? How do you find a circle that's better than you, and then like always going to that?
I think so. Emerging Leaders Asia or being part of that helped me a lot because that circle, right? At work, always finding mentors, reaching out to people who have walked the paths that you already have. On LinkedIn, I do that oftentimes as well. So if let's say at one point, like when I told you I was into HR, I actually reached out to a few CHROs and asked them if they are willing to have a chat with me and just give me some perspective and etc. And I realized for some reasons people rarely say no on LinkedIn. Like people rarely say no to you. If they say no, like I told you earlier,
They
life
won't
goes on,
reply
right?
at all. Like usually they just
Correct. Life goes on, right? There are many people who have done the same thing. So I always do that. So I always find people who are who have walked down the path that I've already walked. So for example, now when I wanted to pick up running, I reached out to my friend Leonard, who we used to be colleagues together, and he helped me out tremendously by telling me about all this heart rate la, zones la, this la, that la. I was like, oh okay, and yeah, and I told you, so I told this to a friend last week that I don't think I've ever come to a point in life where I could not reach out to somebody to solve a problem. I feel like if you tell me if today I have a problem, I know who I can call to solve that. Like I always know who I can reach out to help me sort that out. So I think that's what I do. I always try to reach out to people, find connections, and I'm also a big fan of building communities. So I created this young HR community of a few of us who are working in HR. At that point, I just started my career in HR. So I reached out to a few people on LinkedIn actually, it's most of them. Then I created a group. We all came together, learned a lot about each other, and etc. And I think at work now, I'm also now on an adventure to bring in some young HR professionals from multiple countries to come together, form a community where we just learn from each other. So I'm trying to do that. So last week, actually, one of my biggest dream came through where in 2022, what was 2022? Yeah, I think it was 2022. I was part of the One Young World delegation, which was in Manchester. So One Young World is essentially known as. I realize I said the word essentially a lot. That's quite apparent. I need to look into that. Just me being me. So when I went to One Young World, everyone there is brilliant. Oh my god, like that was like another epiphany. Like I met people who were like fighting for things that they are so passionate about. And again, that's something that I could never do, right? Because again, these most of the times these people who are doing these things are all startup founders. People who are fighting for the marginalized community, people who are fighting to get clean water, people who go build things for the underprivileged. So they are doing crazy things. So I was so mesmerized at that year. The keynote speaker was Meghan Markle, who I
Okay.
known from Suits. And I remember she said this. I mean I can't give the exact statement, but what she said was, whenever we talk about youth, we always say youth today, leaders tomorrow. If you're familiar with BM, pemuda hari ini, remaja hari ini, pemimpin masa hadapan. But she said that, even though you're leaders of tomorrow, nothing is stopping you from being leaders of today. You are already a leader today. And I think, sometimes it's just about hearing the right thing at the right time. Right? So when I heard that, I was like mind blown. Then I realized, yeah, why are we always thinking of youths as leaders of tomorrow when we are already doing many things today that probably was better than our past leaders, right? So that's what got me into that. So last week, I think in this year, in Shell, one of the amazing, there are many reasons why I love Shell. I'm not doing this because I'm in HR. I genuinely love the company and what it stands for. So we have a young talent community, the graduate community we call it, so called Nexus. So I took part in that. I was in the executive committee. I was in the committee of that, and I actually said I want to do a youth summit, and I want to do this by collaborating with other companies. So I actually reached out to Petronas, and then we did a youth. We called it the International Youth Day Summit, which just happened last week, and we saw about 150 aspiring leaders from various organizations coming together. And I curated the 2 sessions that we did. We brought in leaders from different organizations to come and speak about, how do you climb the corporate ladder and how do you build your personal brand. So that's what I think inspired me to always do these kind of things. So yeah, so in that event, I met a lot of people as well, and I keep in touch with them. So if let's say today, to answer your question, right, because you asked me about how do I always find people, I think there are a lot of these opportunities for you to do what you do. And if today you go into the cafe and suddenly you're talking to a CEO of something, you don't know where life's going to take you. And I've had those moments in life.
Amazing. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. How do you build a community? This is something personal question. Like when you talk about your own young youth HR community and all that. Like how do you get that started? Because it's something that I would want to try to do and start my own community. Yeah, maybe for this podcast and all this.
So I'll tell you what I am good at and what I'm bad at, because I have no
Okay.
I have no shame in admitting what I'm not good at, right? What I'm really good at is bringing people together. Like if today I feel like, you know what, I want to, let's say I decide that I want to launch a book and I want to bring a few people author, I can see myself doing that. Right? I can see myself easily bringing that community. But why most of the times I'm very hesitant or I don't go all out is that I don't necessarily know how to sustain that community. Because I don't want to create a community that just does things for the sake of doing. Like I don't want to create if you're familiar with, we had that app, right? During the pandemic, there was this community app that I can't remember the name of where.
Oh, I know. Actually, I forgot as well. Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse is it?
For the
Yeah.
love of my life, I hated the app. You know why?
Why?
Because every day people kept talking about problems, and it just ends there. Like you spend 1 hour talking about problem. Okay, great. Any action plan? None. So what are you gonna do? It just becomes a platform for you to talk and complain. So I don't want any of my community that I built to become like that, right? I'm very very clear. Like if I build a HR community today, I don't want us to come together and then sit, have fun, talk, and then leave. Like I want that to really bring the impact, and that's where most of the times I struggle, because I feel like I'm not really good in kind of having that vision come true. But for this HR community, I do have a plan. So I hope the plan sticks to it. So I want to, do like sharings and etc. At one point, I wanted to create a valedictorian community that failed miserably. I blame the pandemic, because when I graduated from the university, I was then the valedictorian. Then I was like, you know what? That'd be quite cool to bring a few valedictorians together and we talk about life. But then I also did not pursue it that much, because I asked myself the question, what's going to be the point of doing this? Like, what's the point of having that, right? So I could not find the answer. So, and I think a lot of people also make that mistake where, they build community. Let's all come together and, learn. And then we just talk. And I'm like, so when you leave this room, what is the action that you want to take? I'm a very action-oriented person, so I think that's why I do that. But a few communities I've built. So I've built that young HR community. The valedictorian community did happen, and I think at one point but I'm working at work now. I'm working on building that the HR community of Shell. Like some of us coming together to form a small community. And I think sometimes that's the best way to learn, because you really don't know, right? Like what others know. So that's how I think each of us can bring a difference, and then I want that to be meaningful. So that's what I'm good and bad at. Yeah.
I see. That is amazing. Okay, thanks for sharing that. Have you suffered or are you suffering quarter life crisis?
Fortunately, not yet. Oh, I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't
not yet.
think not yet. Yeah, I don't think
Maybe
I've
it's
had.
speaking directly to mid-year crisis.
Yeah, I do want to live long, so I think that will be slightly later. But I don't think I've had a quarter life crisis, but I've had a few awakening moments that I told you, right? So one of it was a conversation with Chloe. One of it was watching myself present and then realizing I don't like how I look. So I then went into fitness. So I think I've had a few of those awakening moments that made me want to change things and bring changes. And I think, like I said, I'm a very action-oriented person, so I will want to drive an action out of something that I do, right? So I don't think I have suffered quarter-life crisis yet, but I think I've just had moments of truth where, I just want to grow and then I just want to fix issues. And I am far from being perfect. I am far from things that I want to work on. So I still am struggling to close those gaps.
I see, I see. But I do feel like there is a possible chance that this crisis just will never come to you. Because like I guess sometimes crises are perspectives as well. Because like the way you see things, maybe you just don't see them at problems, you see them as something, okay, it's just a small thing that I have to change and all that. And then for many of us, so we just like too many problems piled up and then suddenly like so we call it a crisis.
So speaking about this, right? One of my favorite books. I read self-help book a lot.
Okay.
I read. At one point, I was able to read one book a week, and I think I kept on
Wow,
going with that.
amazing.
And so funnily, in high school, I was also the Toko Nilam. So I used to have like 12, 13 Nilam books stacked together because I loved reading, and I still do. I just don't read fiction anymore. So there's this book called What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20 by Tina Selig.
What I wish.
And one of the
keep that.
quotes, yeah, it's an amazing book. Please do read it. So I think one of the quote in that book, what she says is there's a big difference between trying to do something and actually doing it. We often say we are trying to do something, losing weight, getting more exercise, finding a job, but the truth is we are either doing it or not doing it. So this is the exact quote from the book. And another quote in the book that I love, and I tell this to a lot of people as well, is never miss an opportunity to be fabulous. So I feel like I've not had that crisis because if at all a crisis comes, my first reaction is going to be what is within my circle of control to change this, right? What actions can I take to change that? If there's nothing I can do, I will not waste my time worrying about it because there's nothing I can do.
Oh wow.
Right? I will never want to spend time thinking about something, but I know there's nothing I can do in that sense. That's why my friends hate me when they come with me with a relationship advice problem. 99% of the time, my first question is, have you considered breaking up with a person? Like, why not? Right? So I'm not the best when it comes to relationship advice, and my friends don't find me for that. So speaking about that, yeah, so I think I always feel like, never miss an opportunity, right? Again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So that's why I had questionable decisions. I think sometimes, if you have this doesn't only apply to relationships, but it could also be friends. So let's say if you had a fallout with somebody, it's been years or etc. And people have this ego thing like, oh, don't reach out to them. And then you see on Thought Catalog like 10 things to do to not reach out to your ex, like whatever. But if I feel like, I want to do that, I wanna, like, I always believe in that. Like I always will take that action and then I'll leave it to the universe, right? Like I did what I could. And that's it. So I think that's why I've never come across a crisis, because if I come across a crisis, my very first question will be, what do I need to do? Do I know what I need to do? And should I start doing it? If there's nothing I can do, then I will not waste my time worrying about it. But whatever that's within my circle, I will make sure that I can do that. So that's how I got into productivity. And talking about podcasts, I love Ali Abdal. I'm assuming you know Ali Abdal.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered his book.
Surprised you dislike Notion, though. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a very simple guy.
You watch him and then you'll be like, oh yeah, Notion as well.
I can't do Notion because I think I'm not a visual guy to begin with.
Okay.
So I so long all the info I need is there and on an ugly looking Excel, I'm fine. I can run with that.
Okay.
I don't, and that's why I hate people who spend so much time trying to fix a slide. Like people who are, some people find joy in that, I can't. Like if I want to tell 100 people that this is my plan for next week, I'm just gonna put that up. I don't care how ugly or whatever. If it gets my message across, it gets my message across. Like, so one of the things that I don't like is when people, if it's you, you do it. Don't ask me to change whatever, right? They're just taking a sideline of that. But I love Ali Abdal. I love productivity. But I think even when you consider yourself as a productivity junkie, there are a lot of things that you wanna fix and etc. So one of the things that I recently got into was time tracking. So time tracking is my 24 hours. I track, what I spend it with. So I found an app for that. And interestingly, how this happened. So I thought I was delusional. I thought I was delulu because this idea came to me 2 or 3 years ago, where I told myself, wouldn't it be really cool if I can, because I love data. I believe, the quote that says, in God we trust, everything else needs data. I truly believe in that. So 2 or 3 years ago, I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be so cool if I can see clearly where I'm spending my 24 hours?
Okay.
Like if I can come up with that summary to say, Dinesh, like 60% of your time this week was spent on sleeping, for example. Like, wouldn't that be so cool? But I thought that was just an idea in my head. And then I completely just abandoned it, right? Until a couple weeks ago, someone that I know from, actually I don't know the person that well. It's a connection from LinkedIn. And he posted a chart where he said, this is how he spent his time that week. And
Okay.
I was like, I was like turned on, man. Like I was like, are you kidding me? Like this is humanly possible. I immediately reached out to him on LinkedIn. I wanted to have a coffee session with him, went out with him, and oh my, I learned a lot. So apparently there's this app called, I think it's called Toggle, where you can then
Okay,
do
thank
that.
you for sharing. I would
Yeah.
love to explore that.
You should. I even created a LinkedIn post about it. So there is an app that allows you to do exactly that. There's an app that you just have to press start. So for example, when I wake up, I go to the shower, I just press shower, come back, I just end it. Very, very seamless. And in the end of the week, it then gives me the breakdown of like, okay, this is how you spend your time this week. And I could come up with so many action plans from that. That's when I realized, like, I told myself, Dinesh, you realize you spend a big part of your time wasting it on driving. Because I live in Shah Alam, and my life, essentially, most of the things happens in KL or Cyberjaya where I work. And I realized I spend a lot of time driving. And whenever I used to drive, I used to listen to music. As you can
Okay.
see, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, and I used to listen to music. But I'm also a productivity person, right? I'm also into podcasts. Then I told
Not
myself,
listening to podcasts, is it?
exactly. So then I just changed the narrative, right? So now, every time when I drive, I listen to a podcast. So I'm not wasting my time, So that was like a small thing that I picked up from that analysis. So again, when you are daring to reach out to somebody to learn, that's what happens. So I think that's how it changed my life, and that sent me on a good journey as well. In really understanding how much time you spend, how much, like, when it comes to finance analysis, you want to do that as well. And then, at one point, I think I was going to take it to the extent of like, should I start categorizing my friends? Like, how much money, how much time am I spending on what kind of friend? But
CRM.
I think maybe sometime I might. But I think my dream in that, what I really want to do, which I've not figured out, is I want to link time to my goals in life. So if let's say today, so one of my biggest goal right now, the short term goal is I really want to get my hot body, and I
Okay.
really want to get that body. And when I say hot, I'm not meaning like I don't want to look like a Greek god lah. I just want to be able to be shirtless in public. So because
Okay.
and to this is because I want to go to New York. One of my good friends is in New York, and I want to visit her. And I have this dream of like going to Statue of Liberty and being shirtless and taking a picture.
Wow.
So I want to do that. Then what? So I spend at least an hour a day, or in average, I spend 5 to 6 hours a week on fitness. Right? So why am I doing that? Because it's related to that goal of my life, right? So I want to do that someday where I'm able to break down the percentage of time I spend and what goals am I working towards. So, and what goal is being abandoned in that. But I've not figured that out yet. So I will probably figure that out at some point. Or if anybody knows how to do that, please reach out to me. Thanks.
Definitely. Let's hope like some audience will comment down below. Yeah. I'm just amazed how many things you've done. You read so much books, now you're still reading books, now you go exercise, and then you're president here and there, and then you have a full-time job. How do you really manage your time? I know you track your time, but then like specifically, like generally, how else do you manage your time?
So this is why I hate when someone says they don't have time. I don't believe in the notion. I always say in the 21st century there's no such thing as you don't have time. It's about prioritization, and it's about spending time where you want to spend time, right? If today your goal is to lose weight, then ask yourself how much time you're willing to put into that. So one of my favorite books is Atomic Habits. I think you probably have come across that as well. So among the many takeaways I had from the book, my best takeaway is always pair a habit you want to build with a habit that you like to do. So I love social media, right? So what actually made my fitness journey, made the fitness to be a routine is every time I go to a class, I started with spin. Every time I go to a spin class, I used to take a picture. I used to go to the mirror, I take a picture, and then I will post the stats of the workout. Like, you know, when you use an Apple Watch, it tells you how many calories you burned, etc. I don't, literally, I put that, I don't care, like, it's not for other people, it's really a me thing. Like, I want to put that. And then some days, I'm not even exaggerating. There are days I wake up and I tell myself, I'm going to drag my ass to that spin class just to take the picture. Yeah, like,
Amazing.
I do that. Like, I've done that a few times. But what then helped is that, so there are two spin studios that I really love in Malaysia. It's Ho Cycle in PJ and Club Aloha in Mont Kiara, Plaza Damas. They have amazing community. So when I went to Aloha also, I really love the community and etc. So how do I manage time is really, if it's something important, I will make time for it. If it's not, then I will not make time for it. So I could never understand when someone says they don't have time, because everybody has 24 hours in a day. It's really a matter of what you want to do with the 24 hours. If you want to spend time doing nothing because that's what you want to do, go ahead. But don't come and be like, I don't have time, because everybody has the equal time. So if you want to choose to waste your time, by all means, go ahead lah. Obviously, I use some tools to make sure that I'm able to be on track. So I use Google Calendar a lot to plan my timing. I love Google Calendar. I color coordinate these things, and then
Same.
then I use Toggle. I use that to measure my time. I measure my sleep using my watch, so I know if I'm sleeping right. Sometimes then whatever that's important, I will find ways to gather the data to see whether am I doing it the right way or not, right? So I will never say I don't have time. If sometimes if I'm not able to meet a deliverable, I will always say sorry, I did not manage to complete this because of time, essentially, right? But it's still on me. It's not on time. It's on me, because it's either I had bigger things to do, I had better things to do, I had bigger priorities I had to manage. So it's really a me thing.
I see. Very good, very interesting, and thanks for sharing your way of managing it.
Yeah.
Do you think you're successful?
So I think, right, in SPM, when I took the subject when I took literature and English, there was this book that I read. I hated the book back then, by the way. It's called Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. So this is it's set in a dystopian society where in that society it's a crime to read books. Yeah, so if you have books in your house, firemen come and they burn your house. That's why it's called Fahrenheit 451, because Fahrenheit at 451 Fahrenheit is the temperature where paper burns.
Okay.
And it's quite ironic. I can remember so much about the book that I hate, right? Because I hated the book at that point. But I think a lot of things about the book I only understood the later part of my life. So in that book, what changes? I don't want to give you spoilers. I think you should read the book someday. But this fireman goes on a journey to rebel against the government, to rebel against burning books and storing knowledge. Why the government don't want is because they don't want people smarter than them, right? They don't want people to know things. So that's how they control it. So what changed his narrative, or what motivated him, is because a young girl comes and asks him, "Are you happy in life?" So that then changed him, right? Because he started thinking, why I say this, because when you ask that question, that's how it feels. Like, it feels
Okay.
like it can send me down on like some rabbit hole, and I start thinking about things. I think
Okay.
the honest answer is not yet. I am far, far, far from achieving goals that I've set for myself. And I'm
CHO.
also, so that's one part of it. Hot body, New York, you
Oh yeah,
know,
true.
yeah, at some point, then being able to find a stable relationship and etc. I'm also a big fan of setting goals that scares you. And I'm also a big fan of vision boards. Every year I do vision boards and etc. And I really think everybody should do it, by the way. So I can give you the story how vision board works. So when I started my career, I did not start in HR. At that point, for some reason, there was no HR. There was not many HR companies. There was not many HR opportunities. So I started my company. I started my journey in trade marketing. Something that I never would have thought I'll do, because I just never see myself doing that. But in my vision board that year, the HR dream was always there. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I see is HR. But I'm in trade marketing, right? So that always, for some reason, I think this is how the subconscious mind work, but that always gave me that reminder that, Dinesh, you want to do HR. You're in trade marketing today, but your goal is HR, right? Like, you want to go into HR. So one day in my company event, at that point I was working in Unilever and I was doing trade marketing. I had the opportunity to come across the HR director, the HR head of the company, who I always said I want to do HR, right? But at that point I never said I'm an aspiring CHRO. That came later part of my life. So I had the audacity to talk to her, and I told her, you know what, I want to do HR. Then she asked me why. And I was quite impressed with myself that I was able to articulate some points on why I want to do HR, right? And I thought I did it in a so structured manner. But why I was able to do that is because every day when I wake up in my vision board, when I say HR, that just always was really in my head. So
Okay.
to share that with you, when it comes to goal setting, I like to set up goals that I'm scared of achieving. So yeah, I don't think I am successful yet, but I think I am on the right path to get there.
That is amazing. Okay, I like that. I like that you how you built, like you say that you're not successful, but then you're viewing it in a positive way. It's like I'm not there yet. You know where you want to be, and then yeah, you're not
Correct,
being
and
negative about it. Mm.
I think everybody should be able to make the judgment. If today you are not successful, but you're not doing anything to change that, then congratulations, you're going to be unsuccessful forever, right? I also believe in this concept called, if you are born poor, it's not your fault, but if you die poor, it is your fault, right? Because
Okay,
that is how
true.
it is. And
You did not make
I
any change to make your life any better.
Correct. And Andrew, when I was growing up, I had people looking down on me left, right, down, center. And it's really because one of the biggest reasons is because of my family background, right? So my dad, like I said, was a blue collar worker. I did not come from a rich family. We were rich in values and stuff, but we were not rich financially. So I remember relatives who even asked me if I'm ready to become a factory worker, because that's what they saw, right? Because like it's as though that's how they saw it. I don't blame, to a certain extent, sometimes I don't blame them, but it's really that, right? So from young, I've always had that fire to change things.
Mm.
So because my parents are not that educated, so I was doing my dad's income taxes ever since I was 14. So when I was
Oh wow.
14, I was filling up all his forms, because he can't fill up these forms, and all those things. So I think that's how I grew up very fast. And backtrack a little bit. Remember how you also asked me about how, what changed or what I wanted to change, right?
Mm.
So back to this whole school drama. I still remember. So this was a bigger turning point. So
I like it. I like it.
when I went to the Ministry of Education, the person said, you know what, Dinesh, I cannot give you the school that you want. So my parents wanted me. Because honestly, I had no problem to going to whatever school. Like, I did not see the problem. If the school is famous for gangsterism, you want me to go there, perfectly fine, I'll go there. Right? I did not see it as a problem. But my parents were very worried, like, only child and all that. So they wanted me to go to this particular co-ed school. And when I went to the ministry, the person told me, Dinesh, I can't give you that particular co-ed school because it's full and things, but there could be an opportunity in the future that may open up. But if, let's say, you are able to get 4 A's in UPSR, come back and do an appeal and etc. And for then they placed me in an all-boys school. My mom was very, very sad because she has this idea that if you go to all-boys school, your future is gone, lah. Like, you're gonna become some whatever. So she had that idea, and I don't know if Clank played a role because I went to Clank, so I don't know if that played a role. So then I got my 5 A's in UPSR. I got straight A's. When did an appeal? Okay, got into the school. On the first day of the school, the secondary school that I went in, my name is not going to be on the system because I did not, I didn't get into the school automatically, right? I did the appeal process. And if you did the appeal process, you need to then bring the letter and speak to the headmistress of the school. And this time, I went with my dad. Not my grandfather, I went with my dad because my dad wanted to just drop me at school, right? And then he followed, this was the orientation day. It was 31st December 2014? Yeah, it should be 2014, if I remember.
Wow.
No, 2010. 2009. 2009, 31st December. When? And then the counter person said, okay, your name is not here. You need to go and speak to the headmistress. My dad, number one, he's very, 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 very introverted person. He does not speak that much. And number two, like I said earlier, he does not know how to converse in English, right? He can speak somewhat Malay, like he can. But again, it's not the communication. It's more of the introvertedness. So then, it felt like I was in a movie lah. I went to the room of the headmistress, the pengetua, right, at that point.
Okay.
So then she was there. She looked at my document. She's like, "What? How did you get into the school?" Because for some reason, there's people who did the appeal letter also. It really looks like I cancelled the school name and I wrote another school name. So then she was like, "How did this happen?" Then my dad was completely quiet. Obviously, I don't expect him to say anything. So I started, and then, at the age of 13, I started giving all this background story, like, oh, Puan, I got this happened, I went to the thing, I went this, I did that, and this was after the whole grandfather incident where I told myself I would want to stand up, right? And my dad was just quiet the whole time. And then the headmistress looks at me and she says, you have a lot of potential, because rarely people come here and the child talks and the parents sit quiet. Which I think is very true, right? Because growing up, I always see parents complaining. Even today, even when I was in recruitment, sometimes I get so annoyed when parents come and ask me about jobs for their kids. Like, what is your kid doing, right? They still do, and please don't do that. Please don't do that. But I remember she said that, and I think that was the motivating factor that then encouraged me to really go on that entire journey. So I think that's what then inspired this whole bit lah. But essentially, I think if you want something, then you gotta work for it. The world doesn't owe you anything. You owe yourself things, right? So that's what I believe in. I hate people who complain and not do any actions. I passionately hate that because I think it was in the movie Eat, Pray, Love, right? Where they say, don't pray every day to win a lottery when you're not taking a lottery ticket. Right? That's too stupid, right? What's the point of you praying for something if you're not taking actions? So I think for me, I always believe in putting 100% or sometimes above 100%. If I don't get what I wanted, but I know I tried my best, I will accept the result and reality for what it is. But if I know I did not put my 100%, I will hold myself accountable and I'll just take the blame for it.
I see. Okay. How do you deal with people that, like what you said, complain and then have no actions?
I tell them off. Like, I really tell. I've had friends who do that and I just zone out. Like, I'm not a place for you to... Like, if you're coming and just complaining and no action plan, you're wasting your time and my time. So that's why, if you come to me with a relationship problem, my first question is like, okay, have you considered breaking up? Have you considered this? Have you considered that? Like, what are you doing? And, I have had stupid friends, I really call them stupid, who come and tell me about a relationship problem, will get my advice and do the complete opposite. I'm like, congratulations, don't come back to me again, because I don't want you to waste my time again, right? Like,
Okay.
and then they'll be like, oh, you know, in the name of love, okay, like congratulations, lah, you go some other part. I can't relate to that. But I think how I deal with them is I tell them off because I don't have that much time to waste. Number one, and number two, if you are not ready to make a change, then no one can help you. So don't go to someone asking for help when you have not done enough. So that's what I do. But I do try to be nice about it, of course, right? Like I tell them, you know, have you considered this? Have you considered that? But if you have not, then please just don't waste your time. Don't waste my time. Really, just make sure that you are action oriented.
I see. Okay, that is amazing. Thanks for sharing that. That's like something I need personally.
Yeah, I think so too. Because again, it's not rocket science. You know, you don't need a CEO to tell you wake up early in the morning and do this. You don't need that. Like you should be able to know that. Or this is where you know there are a lot of you know opportunities to read. You know there's podcasts every corner of the world. LinkedIn has thousands of articles. There are so many things that you can do. And oftentimes, whatever problem you come to me with, you can just Google it yourself. What stopped you from Googling how to do this? Now with ChatGPT, lagi lah, it's like, have you considered asking ChatGPT and get the answer and see what you want to do with it? So I think, yeah, so what I get triggered a lot, I have a lot of things that triggers me. But among one of it, that tops the list is, if you don't want to take any action, then if you're not ready for any action, then don't. And Andrew, I can also tell you that I have done this mistake a few times in my life as well. I think there was one time where I went to a HR leader and I did not do adequate research about the thing that she does. I did not do my best lah. I could have done better. I did not do that. And I think I need to hold myself accountable to that. Then she started asking me questions that I couldn't answer. And I could not answer because I did not do the research. I did not prepare myself enough, right? So that day I failed. Like I had a good opportunity to show this HR leader my capabilities, but I did not manage to do it because I did not put in the action that I was supposed to. So I think that's what it really matters. If you put your 100% and the outcome is not what you desired, then you can still be happy knowing that you gave it your all. It's the exact same in fitness, right? Like there are days where I just drag myself to the gym and I just want to do it even though it's going to be a bad day. A bad day at the gym is better than nothing. That's what I tell myself, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think being action oriented really helps in that sense.
Amazing. What's your most recent struggle?
I think there are two things. Number one, I wouldn't consider this a struggle, but I recently just got appointed into a role where I am no longer an individual contributor. I actually manage a team of more than 10 advisors. So, you know, I've always said this quote, which is, before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself. But when you are a leader, success is all about growing others. It's not my quote, somebody said this. I don't remember who exactly. But that is so true. Because now that I am no longer an individual contributor, I'm in a team lead role. It's more important for me to be able to groom my people. It's more important for me to let them set them up for success, right? So I think I'm still learning how do I do that, because in the past I've always been a strong individual contributor. I've always been someone who can do things on my own and deliver that. So I think when it's the first time in work context I'm given an opportunity like that. So I think I am still learning how do I do that. How do I prioritize this? At what point do I do this? How do I grow my people? And sometimes I think about it a lot, really about what can I do for them. So I think that's my first struggle. My second struggle is, even though I am a productivity junkie, there are still a lot of things that I want to do that I'm not able to do. So I'll give you some example. Until today, for the love of God, I have not been able to come up or follow a sustainable way to track my finances. I have tried, many things. And now, I think from last month, I am on a roll. I'm doing good. I'm doing better than how I was. I'm using this app called Dime now. So I think I'm getting there, but it's still not 100%. So I think that's one bit. And another thing is also eating healthy. I am not there yet too. Like when it comes to diet, it's really a struggle to maintain diet. And after I started my fitness journey, I realized being healthy is both expensive and it's such an inconvenience. Like there's McDonald's every corner in where I live. It's so easy
Yes.
to get carbs, but when I want like protein, it's like, oh my god, okay, I need to think, like I need to like plan, and I do I'm and because I don't like to do things alone, I can't do meal prep. I hate doing anything like that. So I think that's still a struggle, and I think I'm still trying to figure out how do I then, I think I've done. If you're familiar with the concept of good to great, right? I think in fitness I am at that good stage because I have good habits. I've been consistently working out for the past 1 year, minimum 5 times a week. Unless I travel and I couldn't make it, then I don't. But apart from that, that has been there. The attitude, the behavior is there, the habit is there. But now I'm stuck with, how do I make changes to my diet, for example, and all. I think that's where my struggle is. And yeah, I think I will just need to figure that out before the whole New York thing don't happen.
I
I told myself next year. Next year is like the year.
I see, I see. Very interesting, yeah. About finances, actually, I consider myself really good on the finance side. So if
Okay.
you probably offline, probably I'd love
Yeah.
to hear what your struggle and all that. But yeah, for the
Correct.
for the for the healthy food part, I'm not sure. Does Malaysia's have like all those meal replacement that comes with like complete all the
It also
nutrients?
comes
It's like
with a heavy cost, lah, if you are able
okay,
to pay that cost. Like that's why I
I
said
see.
being healthy is
Not
both.
cheap, not cheap, not
It's not
heavy.
cheap. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
Let's admit it. Subway is not cheap. Also, let's just
Oh,
admit
true.
it. Yeah, nasi
Yeah,
lemak is
very
probably
cheap.
100 times. Yeah, exactly right. So I
Okay.
think I think that's where my struggle is. And when it comes to finance, yeah, there are multiple things, but my struggle right now is capturing data. I think when
Hmm.
it comes to managing my finance, I'm still alright, but
Hmm.
capturing the data, I think that's where I still
Oh,
lack.
interesting, interesting. Cool. We can talk about that later. What's the one thing you love about yourself?
I would say it's the resilience. I'm stubborn. I will not take no for an answer. I think I will not put my foot down until
Hmm.
I'm convinced I should not do it. So I love that about myself because I think that's what got me to where I am today. And I'm not successful yet, right? Like what I told you, but I think I'm on a path to be like that. So the resilience, the always wanting to challenge status quo, always wanting to challenge people, like think about different things and all. I think that's what I like about myself because there will never come a time that I will agree with you 100%. If there's something that I disagree, I will always voice it out. And like what I said, right? Like what my ex-line manager said. It's like, you come to it, then you just have to fight about everything. I said, yeah, sometimes if you say the sky is blue, also I'll disagree. I would love to fight. And it's a fight in a healthy manner. And I think that's what makes a great team. That's what
Hmm.
makes the team that's willing to challenge each other. If no one challenges the status quo, then a lot of things in life will not have been successful. So I always give this example when it comes to things. So I've had a few of my friends who come and complain to me about some things about their workplace and etc. Then I spend some time giving them advice, and then I'll say, okay, go make a complaint. Then they'll be like, oh no, I don't want to complain. I'm like,
You don't
so
take any action.
so
What do you expect to change?
that's number one, right? And number two, I also told them, if everyone had the mentality of yours, probably a lot of things in the world, revolution would not have happened. Because we're happy with status quo, right? Revolution would not have happened. Feminism probably would not have happened as well. Because feminism started when people were standing up for their rights. People were standing up to be treated equally. So I feel like the greatest things that the world has witnessed all came from people standing up for something or people realizing there's a problem in the world and somebody is doing something about it, right? So that's why I can also be very whiny. So if there's a problem, I will make sure I complain about it, even though I know nobody's going to read it. I leave feed every time there's a feedback form. I fill it up. If I go and see there's a hole in the road, I will take a picture, do something about it. I just feel like I will do whatever that's within my control to do something. So I will never be shy to disagree, to fight with whatever, to give feedback where necessary and all. So I always believe that I have that resilience to continuously want to be a better version of myself. Because I think, in the sense, right, the whole aspiring CHRO came because I think I can be one. That's what I want to do. Hot Body New York happened because I think I can achieve it. Nothing is stopping me from achieving that, right? So if let's say I continue on this fitness journey and I don't get my hot body by next year, but I know I did everything and I did not get it, I'll still be happy. I'm not gonna hang myself and be sad about it. If I know I did 100%, then I have nothing to regret, right? So yeah, I think it also doesn't help that I'm a Taurus lah, and I was born in the year of Ox. If you follow the Chinese Taurus, the
Okay.
zodiac sign. So I'm really stubborn. I'm stubborn when it comes to things, but I'm stubborn, but I'm willing to compromise. I'm willing to hear your point of view, and I will never say no when someone else's idea is better than mine. I am happy to take a step back. I'm happy to lose arguments if I have to, right? Sometimes people say like, oh, it's either you lose the argument or lose the person. I always disagree. I'm like, it's okay. Like, if it's an argument, I will put my foot down. I'll say what I want to say. If you choose to not take any actions, it's on you. Like, I just want to go to bed knowing I did whatever I could to solve whatever I needed to solve.
Amazing. What's your proudest achievement while being stubborn, being resilient?
Proudest. Oh my god, so often
Maybe
in
resilient.
life,
Maybe
right?
think more towards resilient instead of like the stubborn.
Yeah, I think often in life, right, I am rarely proud of myself, to be very honest. And I'll tell you
Oh.
why. It's because it's really because I know I could do it. So
Oh.
I know I could do it, so I did it. So I'm like, it was
It's expected. I should
it's
have done it.
expected. Yeah, correct. Right. So that's why I think I'm very hard on myself a lot.
Okay.
At work, personal relationships and everything. I think I am like that essentially. But there are some things that probably I was very proud of getting Taylor Swift tickets, if that helps. I
I don't think
it
that's
was-
much resilience. I've
I mean, taking leave and then like setting up multiple accounts and signing up with so many emails and sitting down, praying and making sure everything. I think it was resilience to get me that to that. But I think so there were a few things. Number one, when I became the valedictorian of my university when I was graduating, because when I entered the university, I was informed that there are two prestigious awards that students can get. One was the Vice Chancellor's Medal, and another one was known as the Jan Atkin Award. You were from Nottingham, right? I don't know if you were
I know
familiar
I've heard
with
of
this
that.
too. And I think at that point, only a couple of people before me have gotten both that award. There were a few people, obviously. So when I was graduating, I was, people were telling me that, oh, are you proud? You're the first in your family tree to actually make it to university in my family, right? And in my mom's side, I was literally the first to get a degree at that point and all. But I was like, I came to the university to study. I came to the university to get my degree, so I got my degree. There's nothing to be proud of. Like, I did what I could and everything. But why was I very proud of the whole valedictorian thing? It's because that is something that was outside my control. I did not apply to be a valedictorian, right? This is something that, is deliberated by other people and etc. So when I got that award, I think it felt like, I have accomplished something that really helped me in that bit. So I think that's what got me really proud from a personal side. Fitness wise as well, I think I have been proud. I'm proud that I'm able to like really be consistent, build habits, and do what I can. But if you ask me today, am I proud of myself? The answer is straight no. I don't think I have done enough to be proud of myself. There are still a lot of loopholes in my life that I'm not happy with. I don't think I'm reading enough. I don't think I'm spending time with my cat enough. I have a cat that his name is Taylor. I don't think I'm doing enough for him. I don't think I'm spending enough time with my parents. I don't think I'm doing things that I can, fix things with them and etc. So those elements, yeah, I don't think I am proud of myself. If you ask me, in a very honest way, similar to what you asked me, right? When you asked me if I'm successful, I told you not yet. If you ask me if I'm proud, I don't think I'm proud of myself yet because I still see a lot of opportunities to be better, a lot of opportunities to do things differently, a lot of things that that I can really make a change in people's life and etc. So I think those are the elements that I want to work on, and for in the next phase of my life, that's what I want to focus on as well. How do I then probably continue becoming a better version of myself and become a version that I am proud of? Because every year I have a theme. So last year, I think the theme was really more of like, I think I called it the year of, I forgot what whatever was it the year. I'm trying to look at whatever I wrote.
Oh, your
What did
vision
I
board, is
write?
it?
Yeah. My vision board is somewhere, is someone there. So I think it was the year of, I forgot whatever year that was, but I think for this year, my goal of the year is to be intentional. Like I wanna make sure my energy, my time, my focus, whatever that I do, it's gonna be intentional. Like I'm doing it because I want to do it, and I'm also doing it because I know what my intent is, and I'm getting to where I want to get to, like essentially, right? So I think that's what I really was. And every year there's just different themes that I come up with. So this year, yeah, now that you asked, now that this triggered, I think maybe for next year I should look into being proud, because I don't think I have looked into the element of being proud of myself. And yeah, and if I zoom into that, I think there's a lot more that I need to do before I'm able to be proud of myself.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you, Dinesh, for sharing all these things. We've been talking for almost 2 hours, and you have really, really shared a lot. Like really, from you being an introverted person, I never knew that. Like I believe many people never knew that as well, and then
Yeah.
changing all the way into who you are today. So I really appreciated your whole story. Like it gave me a lot of insight, and I learned a lot of things personally for myself as well. So yes, if the audience would like to reach out to you, which would be the best platforms?
I think LinkedIn would be best. I do check my LinkedIn from time to time, so just reach out to me on LinkedIn, Dinesh Jayabalan. I'm quite findable. I always tell people that. Oh yeah. So every time I meet someone new, also I
Okay.
always tell them I'm not dodgy. Google me. You will see legit things and not shady things. So yeah, that helps as well. But yeah, if you wanna, I'm always down for conversations. I'm always down for things, but only if you're willing to put in effort and pull the weight on your side, lah. So that's what I always tell. I'm willing to commit my 100% if you're willing to commit your 100% as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out, be it a conversation, be it a question. If you want to know more, yeah, LinkedIn is best. Instagram is also okay. I just went public on Instagram
Oh,
this year. So I was private. So I was actually public, went through a breakup a couple of years ago, went private, and then was private for many years, and then I then went public again. But I think I'm quite a clown on Instagram. Still trying to figure out
it's fun,
this
I
whole
think.
thing. Yeah, still trying to figure out all these things. But LinkedIn will be the best, or just any avenues that you want to reach out to me. Please do. I will reply. I have this habit of replying people even though if I don't like you. I think I don't like to ghost people. I rarely block people because I always had this funny thing. You know, my friends always say, right? You know, if this person bothers you so much, block them. And my answer is like, what if like one day they are dying and then they're trying to reach out to me to say sorry and then the message doesn't come to me? Then maybe they will not be at peace. They're gonna
Okay.
die thinking they should. It's quite stupid to think like that. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna think like that. But the
But it is
moral
a
of the
very
story
interesting
is,
thought.
yeah, it's an interesting thought, right? Yeah, but I think one of the story is that I will always reply you, even though I don't like you or whatever. You will not know that I will still reply you. So feel free to reach out, and I'm more than happy to have a chat.
Yeah, like I'm happy. Thanks for that because of that willingness to reply. That's why I'm able to invite you here and then have this amazing conversation, sharing your story.
Thanks. No worries. I
Yes.
had fun.
Okay. So yes, that will be it for this episode. Thanks everyone for listening. Please follow us on all the podcast platform that you listen from, and then please, if you do enjoyed it, leave us a 5-star review on the platforms, and do comment your own social media handle. I would love to personally message you and thank you and have a conversation with you. And if you have any feedback, feel free to write it there as well. So, yes, thank you for your time, and we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye. Cheers.
Remember to subscribe to get notified as new episodes come out every Thursday, and please share this podcast to anyone you think would enjoy it. This is Andrew Kwan from Gen Z Journey.